Hi everyone, it's late February and I don't know about you, but I'm eager to start sowing seeds indoors. I'm in zone 6A, so I start first with the cold hardy annuals, perennials, and long growing plants, as most of these will be moved out and planted before the last frost date as they can handle cool temps. I got pretty overwhelmed quickly with my seed collection, so I bundled the seeds by sowing dates and organized them into these little piles. I've also started to log my seeds into a spreadsheet like Airtable, which is completely free. I organize by seed name, type, and where they were purchased and how much I spent. By the way, I do the same for live plants, which I keep track of in a separate sheet. As for seed starting, I'll make note of when I started the seeds, how I sowed them, and when it germinated, as it will help me next year when I try to figure out what worked and what didn't. The soil I like to use is a seedling mix or fine cocoa coir, which is sterilized, and the little seeds can push up as it's light and airy. Pick out any big twigs if you see any. It's also important to hydrate the soil first, as it's initially hydrophobic until it's not. I'm starting Ranunculus as it's a cool season flower. First, I'll soak them for about 3 to 4 hours. I don't change the water or aerate it or anything like that. I use moist potting mix here, as that's the only water the corms will need. I pre-sprout them to get a head start, so I'll fill a tray half full of soil and lay out the corms pretty close together where they're almost touching. I'm growing the Italian Pastello and Salmone varieties. Believe it or not, there's about 75 corms in these 2 little trays. Cover them up with some more soil and set aside for a couple weeks under a loose dome. Too wet and the corms can rot. It shouldn't need any watering, just don't let it dry out, otherwise it's game over. Keep an eye out for little white shoots. I'm also growing annual sweet pea varieties. These are another cool flower plant. The trick with these is that they don't like their roots disturbed, so something tall like these root trainers, toilet paper rolls, or tall growing pots are useful. My sweet peas get a special tray just for themselves. Really, it's not needed, but it's one of those things you buy as a new gardener until you realize you don't need it. What I do like about these is that they separate and you can remove the plant with minimal root disturbance. A humidity dome is a must for the dry indoor air. Some seeds need a cold period for better germination, and I tried the ice cube method. Freeze the containers half full, add seeds on top, and then fill it up and freeze again for another 3 days. It was a little tricky to keep the seeds from floating at the top. Seeds soaked in a paper towel and refrigerated for 3 days also works well with a little less fuss. After the cold period, place the ice cubes on top of your pot and let it melt in place. I also use a 72 cell tray, another purchase I won't recommend because no matter what, seeds will germinate at different times and you'll need to keep the seeds under a humidity dome until they sprout. So I'd recommend buying those 6 cell trays that you can remove as you need to. If you don't, the new seedlings can dampen off and die because of too much humidity. I also use a light dusting of vermiculite to cover the surface sown seeds as it retains moisture. I like to bottom water the plants because the fine seeds aren't disturbed. As I keep my seeds indoors, I don't need a heat mat. As long as the ambient temperature is about 20 Celsius or 68 Fahrenheit, you're good. Covering the seed trays with a humidity dome is essential for proper germination. If they dry out, guess what? Game over. Here are my seed babies. They're under grow lights right now. As soon as the day temps are around 3 to 4 Celsius, these seedlings will go outside and acclimatize in a clear tote, and eventually I'll plant them out once the nighttime temperatures are above 4 Celsius. I've had to prick out the ice cube seeds as they were growing too close together, but I've had about 100% germination on these delphiniums versus last year where I winter sowed them and I got nothing. These are the Ranunculus corms. As soon as they sprout, they can be planted outdoors if it's around 4 Celsius, but my zone's a bit tricky as summer comes on quickly. So instead, I'm potting them up individually to grow them some more indoors before I'll plant them outside, probably around late March. If it's too hot, they stop growing or flowering. My seed collection has grown exponentially as I also collect seeds from many of my plants. I've started a garden club at my local library to share the seeds, so it's something I definitely recommend you do, as many seeds will have a shelf life of only 2 to 3 years. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'd be so happy if you could subscribe so I can pay for my garden addiction. Thanks for watching.